It feels like things are just so fast, moving so fast. And the only still place, it's like the heart is just pushing, reaching, saying, right here. We come right back here to that still place. And in the field of care, meditation, so beautiful. I usually have a memory that's a little, usually with another person. But this time I remembered, and I've thought of this before, but I've never used it in that meditation, a time where I was just, when I was little, and I was just laying in the grass. And the phrase that came in was, I was held by the sun and taught by the sky, And the being held, which is what the field of care practices, is so, so important. It's essential right now. Because we are living with a very strong energy that's rising in our world. We talk about finding liberation in the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. And right now we're needing to awaken in the storm of greed, hatred, and delusion, I mean, it's like a tsunami. Like a tsunami happens when there's like a big, deep disturbance in the earth, like an earthquake, and then the waves come and there's so much destruction and you can't stop them. Once the causes and conditions come together and that begins, that just goes and it has its own momentum. And our job as practitioners is to stay in our seats. This is what the practice of patience is about. It's not turning away, but it's finding where we're held. It's finding that inner refuge, that place of resilience. Because if we can't find it, we will be swept. This is why titrating what we take in is critical right now. We don't want to put our head in the sand. We don't want to ignore. We don't want to check out. But we do have to titrate. And if we can't protect our hearts and minds, if we don't know how to use our practice, this will sweep us away. We will go. We will get lost. But we don't have to. We have a choice. We have a choice, and the choice lies in the training, and that's what we're up to. There's a term in Tibetan, choshe, and I've heard it translated a number of different ways, but Elizabeth Mattis Namgyal talks about it as brokenheartedness. And Dzigar Khantrul Rinpoche talks about it in his book on patience as disillusionment with samsara. And I think Anam Thupten Rinpoche talks about it as divine exhaustion. Just like sometimes we just have to let go, like completely let go and realize you can't work it out. There is a divine exhaustion right now. There is a deep understanding, in the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, that turn us to this practice, these practices of awakening to our potential, there's this thought of like really understanding samsara. Like, don't have expectations from samsara. Don't have expectations, samsara being this churning world of confusion. Don't think we can work it out with the ordinary mind. You know, really let that brokenheartedness frame our life, not to be depressed. It can actually make us more joyful because we're not fighting with our life and we're recognizing that the chaos and the confusion and the trauma and the heartbreak is what's calling us to abide in the heart, to be held by the sun of our own awareness, our own inner luminosity, our own warmth, our own big, big, big heart. Not little heart that loves this, doesn't love that, you know. Big, big, vast heart. This is who we want to be. This is how we want to show up. And there's an African proverb. I wrote it down. I don't know if it's a proverb. It's a saying. Times are urgent. Let us slow down. You know, so there's that still place, like the one that I found in my field of care, the one that I found when I was little laying in the grass, you know, looking at the sky. And I thought in the practice, well, how did I manage to do that? Because what I dropped into as a little one was quite profound, you know, it was big mind. And how did I do that when I was like a walking little trauma child? Like I was shaking inside. I was so scared. I lived in I had a very difficult childhood, and many of us have. And I thought it was because I was held by the sun. You know, I felt the warmth of the sun in that moment, and it created enough safety that I just opened. I completely opened. I didn't open to anything magical, anything, it was kind of extraordinary, but it was ordinary. It was completely ordinary. Suddenly, the birds and the wind and the sun and the sky, like, they weren't separate. I wasn't separate. It was all holding me. It was so intimate. And we have to be intimate with all of it, our comfort and our discomfort. There's so much to be uncomfortable with right now. If we don't know how to relax, if we don't know how to be held enough that we can relax, then we can't open. So patience in a certain way is like a great practice that protects us. It creates the safety so that we can open. And we need these safety practices. We need this way to ground, to root into the heart, into the intelligence of the heart, the kind of core of our being. And when we do this, it's radical. It's not just for us. It's an incredible form of activism. It's what is going to inspire our action in the world so that it's bringing sanity, you know, so that we're not adding aggression. On my way in, sometimes the world, like the Dharma, speaks to me in songs, you know. I think I got this from my mom. Like my dad said, he always knew how my mom was feeling because she'd start humming or singing a little song, like, you know, and and it always sort of told him sort of where she was at. And I find this happens, like songs will pop into my head. So the song that popped into my head this morning, I want to play for us. And I thought, why is this popping into my head? And I couldn't remember the lyrics actually. And it's a love song. It's from a love story movie. And and yet I put it, so I knew when I get these kind of messages, I know it's like, oh, I have to pay attention. There's like a little call here. And so I put it on in the car. It's called Falling Slowly. Do you guys remember there was like that movie years ago? It's a sweet, sweet, like love story. And I don't remember the details of it, but I put it on and it just opened my heart. And I thought, this is like a devotional song. It's like a love song, even though the movie was like two people in love, that it's like a love song to our Buddha nature, to our Bodhisattva vows. So I asked Eric, I sent him a link, right, Eric, to put the lyrics up. And then I was going to experiment with trying to play the song for all of you. But I have to shut off airplane mode. So let's hope nobody calls me.
I don't know you, but I want you all the more for that.
too. I don't know if this is one of those things that translates on Zoom, but there's a lot of wet eyes in this house right now.
Yeah, I cried all the way in while I listened to it. I just do a lot of crying practice now. But it's not crying like, it's more that brokenheartedness that's like full of love. It's not just grief and sorrow. You know, it's like got that heart of tenderness, that sewa in it. The bodhicitta, the awakened heart, right? This song is like, it's kind of amazing. It's like an anthem to our time. And yeah,
This sinking boat.
and point it home. We've still got time. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. And there's like, it also that we have a choice. Raise your hopeful voice. You had a choice. You've made it now. Like every moment, we have a choice as bodhisattvas in training. It's often called the path of the warrior. And the idea is that we're armed. Our weapons are love and compassion. Our weapon is the open heart. You know, it feels like aggression it's like, it feels protective. It feels like closing the heart. It feels like being right, standing your ground, using your voice is the protection, but it can be a false protection. It can be a false protection if the underlying energy of it isn't coming from bodhicitta, isn't coming from love and compassion, that big all-inclusive love. That's wise, that's unconditioned. That's like the sky that doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end, doesn't have a middle, completely vast. If it's not coming from that, if it doesn't stay grounded in that, then we're adding. As we try to help, we can really be causing more harm. And the best way to know if we might be causing harm is to, like, what is the state of our mind? What is the state of our heart? If it's closing, if it's overwhelmed, if it's furious with like a kind of ill will, rage from an ill will, not the fury of compassion, you know, not that, but the really like wishing harm, the retaliatory mind, the mind that wants to set them straight, you know, show them, you know. It's not that we don't have these thoughts, but we have to examine them. And the practice of patience, Padme talked about, Ruzigar Kantarumche talking about simmering practice, you know, the kind of waiting, the sitting with, the making ourselves big enough to notice, and to notice the layers. Like right now, the poisons, you know, the three poisons, in all their different forms, the greed, the hatred, the delusion that is, you know, so strong. This is very gross. Like this is like a gross level of emotion and energy that's out in the world that you don't, there's not really, it's easy to see. And we know when we're deep in it ourselves, like we feel that when it's there. But as practitioners, our practice is to see the subtler and more refined levels of those poisons. Because if we can't root them out by staying rooted in the heart, this bigger place, and seeing, opening and seeing, if we can't, we will project it out onto the world. And I have really been watching my nervous system. You know, I think most of us carry trauma right now, and in a certain way, we're going through a collective trauma in a country that has long prided itself on being a democracy, and we may not be in the future. Hopefully, we will be able to maintain that. But if we're not able to look inside and see when we're shaken, see when we are not on solid ground, the solid ground of no ground, actually, being able to be at ease with that. If we don't know when we're steady or how to create enough steadiness, then our job is to sit and to wait and to keep practicing. And if we have trauma in our history, developmental trauma or adult trauma, or we're finding this to be traumatic, the current circumstances will draw that up. So I have experienced personally, and I gotta think some of you share this, the parts of me, the young parts that didn't feel safe, kind of ever, are going, ah, in this world. And I found myself recently in a situation with someone I loved dearly who was sharing with me some things that aren't accurate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it there. And I found myself pretty shaken, and I found what it poked at. I sat on my cushion and I thought, what's going on? I have to look deeply. A part of me. But I could lash out at this person, or I could retreat and get depressed and get overwhelmed and shut down. Like easily that could take over. So my job every time is to go to my cushion or to go to my car. If I'm in my car, I'm not home. And just be with those, melt, let those parts come forward. Let those aspects, that pain, step forward. So I can know it, so I can make space, so I can give it what it needs. This is part of our practice, is understanding the mechanics of our confusion, the subtle causes and conditions. And patience is an incredible tool, and Shantideva goes through step by step, example after example of how we do it. So I think that's enough for me to say for now. I guess the only other thing is skipping ahead to chapter 8 in this text, The Way of the Bodhisattva. Shantideva talks about that all the things in the world can teach the Dharma. And in the Tibetan tradition, we talk about the poison is the medicine. So we really can reframe the confusion and the suffering that we're personally experiencing, that people we know, that groups of people we know are experiencing right now. We can reframe it. It's hard to imagine this, but we can utilize it to help us wake up. And this is the choice of the Bodhisattva. If we don't do that, use this to make the heart bigger, to make the heart wiser, then we will just be swept away. So it's like the world can be drawing the poison out of us right now. This is the way I think of it. It's provoking. It's saying, Sue, look at those unhealed, frozen little parts of yourself, frozen dimensions of your being. Don't send them out into the world, into battle, into confusion. Don't do it. Do the simmering practice. See it all as the teacher. Place it on the crown of your head, just like we do in the Bodhisattva practices. That's the kind of richness of this tradition. So let's turn now to, I'm getting texts. I have to go back to airplane mode.
Sue, can I slow you down for just a minute?
Yeah.
Can you just say a few words about the simmering practice again? Just as because I think what you're saying there is very important, and I think there's different levels of understanding of that. So just a little bit.
Simmering. So just the essence of it is to not go into habit response, not go into the habit energy of reactivity, of checking out, of blaming, of shaming, out or in, or whatever that habit energy is for you in that moment, is not to go into it, but to sit in the heart of what's underneath that, because all of that is an effort to get rid of the feeling, the uncomfortable feeling, but to sit, to simmer with what's there, to not jump into the habit, to kind of go against the grain, to let that energy simmer and move through that urge to send the email, that urge to make the post, the urge to, whatever it is, make the phone calls and tell people how it is, whatever it is. Not that there aren't actions to be done in the world, but if we're avoiding letting it call to our wisdom, letting it wake up our wisdom, and we're just going into activity, into doing, into unwise action, then we're contributing to the collective confusion. So simmering, imagine you're simmering with what is a way to frame the starting point of practice. Does that make sense?
It's very consistent with the handshake practice too.
It is.
With just sitting compassionately, like you're not solving it in the moment, you're not doing something about it, but you're sitting like a compassionate friend, just being present to a friend who's suffering, a friend who's distressed. So it's the same thing then.
Sokni Rinpoche talks about our beautiful monsters. So when your beautiful monster is rising up, your hungry ghost is alive and well, Yeah, we don't do anything. We don't make it wrong. We don't make that part wrong. We don't try to make it go away. We don't try to fix it. We just sit in a place of as much love, as much warmth, as much acceptance as we can. Like the Buddha inviting Mara in for tea, just come on in, simmering practice. Come on in, we'll just have tea.
We still have time to point this boat. Right?
We still have time to point the boat. Home. Yeah, what we're doing right now is practices to bring us home, but it's training, because we didn't get this training in school. We didn't get taught what real patience is, It's not just like, be quiet, pretend it's okay. It's not that at all. It's this idea of forbearance, being able to bear, being able to simmer.
Can you say what home is?
Home, pointing the bone home is, home is the boundless place. It's the boundless place. It's the ineffable. It's our full potential. It's knowing we belong, we all belong. It's being completely intimate, connected, not separate. It's non-dual. It's not self and other. It's presence. It's just a quality of presence with no agenda. and nothing added on. It's a quality before we start labeling things as good or bad, as right or wrong. And we're in the land of right and wrong right now. So the Buddha said, right, we can be the lamp, we can be the refuge, we can be the island. Shantideva said we can be the boat, the raft, the bridge. We can be the guard for all who are protectorless. In a certain way, home manifests as a responsive energy. It's knowing what's needed in each and every moment, not because we've calculated and strategically thought through and had to practice simmering. It's because we're so well trained, we're so refined, we've learned to abide in a place where we just are naturally in response to the world from this place of home, this bigger, vast capacity, the depth that Deborah talks about when she guides the practice. Like Sangha, we're here to go home together. Thich Nhat Hanh said the next Buddha will be the Sangha. We need fellowship, we need community, we need each other. We need each other when we get confused and lost. We need each other for strength, for reinforcement. More than ever, we need Sangha and community now. We need people to not draw out our poison, but to draw out our nature, to remind us. This is what the great teachers do. This is what all the greatest movements of transformation, they haven't relied on aggression. They've relied on home. They've relied on this larger capacity, and they're so grounded. I talked about that. The heart, like what are we radiating out? The energy of the heart is this vast energy, and we're building our field so that it's influencing all the space around us, so that other people can co-regulate with us. We don't want to co-regulate with the three poisons that are like the tsunami that's coming. But it's so strong that we have to strengthen home, right? And home isn't a solo place. It's a collective place too. Yeah.